What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Hany Rambod. I'm here with my co-host, Austin, and a special guest.
Ooh. Hi, my name is David Butler.
David Butler. So for those of you who have not seen David Butler was our latest athlete, or is, I should say, our latest athlete at Evogen. And it's a bit different because we did a video. It's gone somewhat viral.
Lighting up the internet.
Yeah. And the reason why I think it's interesting is that many people have always asked, well, Hany, how come you don't train somebody that's actually someone that's young and starting out? That we want to see the journey of you working with somebody from the get-go, because it's been a very long time since I've been able to work with somebody at a younger age or early on in their career, because now with Evogen and all the other projects that I work on, it's so time consuming. I don't have time to work with amateurs and whatnot. So David and I met at the gym, and David happens to be, how old are you now?
I'm 19 years old. Just turned 19.
Yeah, you just turned 19 years old. He's never done a show before, right?
That's correct.
And I would see him at Absolute Recomp, the gym that I train at pretty much 4 or 5 days a week, and here in the outskirts of Dallas. And what we've done is we've kind of come up with this project on its own. It was very natural. It wasn't something that was very forced, because I would see David, who works at the gym. And how long have you been working there?
I've been working there for 9 months now.
9 months.
Yeah. And I'm working there, and then I'm working out. So I pretty much live there.
You move next door now, pretty much.
That's right. It's my lifestyle.
That's the life. Yeah.
Right. So the story goes, and I think I told you about it, Austin.
Yeah.
When I saw him in the gym, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of really young athletes in that gym. And when I say athletes, I think guys who and women, men and women, when I say guys, that work out really hard. And some of them compete, but many of them don't. But a lot of the new generation walk around with their cameras. They, on a little tripod, because they're shooting content, whether it's for YouTube, whether it's for Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. And I think the big thing now has been the younger the generation of athlete that I'm seeing here really stands out, the younger generation of athlete, because where I come from in the Bay Area, it's gotten so expensive. Most of those kids, I call kids, but the younger generation between 16 and 20, there's not very many of them in the Bay Area. And if they are, they're not into training. Here, people have moved here to the area for just that purpose, because it's more it's better cost of living.
Yeah, you actually can, with a roommate or two, live in a nice, safe place. Actually,
yeah, didn't you just move in with some friends?
I did, yeah, 2 of my coworkers. And like touching on that topic, we've had countless influencers and move. I know at least 3 of them moved from Florida altogether and come to this gym just to work out and pursue social media. It happens all the time.
And the reason why is the economy of scale. So when you can come over here and be able to have a couple of buddies, and you're all teenagers, right? I think none of you are over 20.
No, 19 and under.
19 and under. So at the end of the day, you guys are all, and did you guys get a house, apartment, what?
Apartment, yeah.
Okay. So, and the story goes is the fact that I would be in there, whether it was with my wife or with Nick or even with our athletes that were coming in and training, I would see David always smile on his face. He's always happy. He's at the front desk. He's working there, or he's walking the floor, or I'd see him in the gym working out. And the times I would see him in the gym working out, I'm like, wow, the guy's got a pretty good physique. And and
then you look at my form.
And I look at your form, and I'm just like, cringe.
And you're like, how?
Cringe. I was just like, oh, cringe. So I'm like, wow, what's your name? He goes, David. David, step into my office.
AKA the gym, which,
at the gym,
which is this incline fly machine. I'm over here. Come step into my office over here. So I got to stop my workout, and Nick just probably is just like, okay, I'm going to go do my workout, because he's going to go into some kind of, a while. This is going to take a few minutes. Yeah. And I was like, when you train back, do you feel your back? And you said what?
So I feel like I do think that I've built up like the inside of my back.
No. Oh, we're not talking about now.
Okay.
We're talking about when I first met you.
Yeah. I've always feel like I do think I have like thickness in my back, my lats.
Right.
However, no, never felt them in my life.
Right. He couldn't really flex his lats. And I saw him and I said, hey, try to flex your lats. And he's like, what's that? And he was like, doing this.
Just
He's lifting one shoulder up, then the other one, he's trying to do a front relax. He couldn't do a front relax pose. And so I said, look, the minute you understand how to do a front relax pose and you could be able to really flex the body part that you're training, you're going to improve dramatically. Mm-hmm. And I just kept thinking to myself, okay, how can I be able to help this kid right now? And at the end of the day, you're an adult. You're now 19 years old. I'm going to call you a kid because I'm quite a bit older than you. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things that I wanted to be able to see some results from him and see him improve, because he's already working really hard and he's got good legs. He's got a really good base. And I think the day I talked to you, I think you were like 178. And, you're between hovering, I think you're still, what do you weigh right now?
I'm about 180.
180. Okay. And so, and at about 5'10"?
That's right.
Right. So at the end of the day, I was like, wow, he's got a good structure. He's working hard. I see him training all the time. And many times at night, because he would work during the day. And I just kept thinking to myself, when I was competing and all the things I was going through and how hard it was for me, and I didn't really have someone there to be able to kind of really sit down and help me with my form. So I said, let me try to help this kid. And at the end of the day, I saw the improvements as he was starting to implement what was going wrong and changing that. Again, not having mind muscle connection, not being able to contract his back, bring his scapula together. I think it was on pull downs. We were working on some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And that back, that C arch, which a lot of people get wrong. They don't understand that that's what you got to do to be able to really get the lats to contract is very common. But seeing somebody and being able to help critique them, I think we talked for about 10, 15 minutes. And I was just able to go through some different poses and trying to get him to understand mind muscle connection and understanding how important that is to be able to do that. And then I started thinking about something else afterwards. I thought about some of my clients that I worked with that ended up becoming pro. They're 250, 260 pounds. Mm-hmm. Notably a guy named Quincy Taylor that won the USA in 2001. And the first time I worked with him, he won the overall and he was just amazing. He had an amazing physique. And I remember training him for the first time. And I said, when I trained Quincy, I thought it was the same thing with back. It was one of his weaker body parts was his back. And I said, I thought he would know how to do bent over rows properly. And it wasn't that he was doing them bad, very, very poorly. They just could have been done way better. And just because the person was going to become a pro or is a pro doesn't mean that they know how to get that right mind muscle connection. But the people like me with the lesser genetics who study and work on those things become, I think, the teachers, because of the fact that we had to overcome so much of our genetic limitations. Same thing with supplements. When I started working on supplements and Evogen, it was the same thing. And I think that when I saw him, I just instantly said, you know what? Let me give him a little bit more advice every time I see him. And that's how the David Butler story started. So I know you and I talked about that before. Yeah. You were asking how that whole thing.
And I think that naturally progressed so perfectly with everything we've been talking about on the podcast. And we've been talking about that younger generation and how often being misled by different things on social media, whatever it might be. We were having all those conversations right as David was that connection was starting to form. And I think that, you started to almost view him as like a stand-in in a way for just the population on social media. Like, oh my gosh, if I can give him tips on these things, and then we could, the idea started to form of showing it, putting it out there on YouTube like we did with that video. I think a lot of people resonate with that because it's really needed right now. Solid, old, like not even old school, but just like the correct advice on form, nutrition, whatever it might be. Because there's just so much out there right now that's, for lack of better words, just BS, mumbo jumbo, just people throwing things out on social. So I think that you just kind of popped up at this perfect time where we were having so many discussions on the podcast of thoughts.
Well, it started with health.
Yeah.
It started with all these people passing away and then starting to understand that the younger generation didn't know the difference between tren and creatine. And then saying, again, this is the target demographic for the information that we're trying to provide. And then, so David, let me ask you this, because we're giving a lot of the backstory here. When you started working there, tell me a little bit about your bodybuilding. I want people to understand who you are, kind of what you've done. How did you get into bodybuilding?
So freshman year of high school, my dad actually was, he worked out at Gold's Gym in California with, I think he placed third in Mr. California.
Oh, he competed.
No, the guy that my dad worked out with competed.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that story. I'm like, your dad competed, huh?
So he, but he like had a pretty good foundation. He knew. I mean, and my dad will like give me like, he'll be hard on me sometimes because he has like, he was telling me when he was my age, he had 19-inch biceps and he was bigger than me. So I did take after him in that sense. So freshman year, like I think because that was 14 years old, that's when I could get my own gym membership. Like I think I wanted one already. And so I think I got it at some small gym, started working out. And just like, I mean, I loved it. I fell in love with it. I didn't have a car. No one drove me to the gym. I would bike 2 miles every single day to the gym. And it was funny. I was in cross country too. So, I mean, like what I was doing was insane. I would go run 4 miles on the treadmill and then I would go do my lifting for another 2 hours. And then and it was one thing I remember always telling myself is I remember like biking when it was snowing outside, when it was like literally just pouring rain.
This is all here in Dallas, right?
That's right. And I was just like, as soon as I get a car, I was like, I need to take my physique to the next level because if I was able to do it then, I should be able to do it now.
Okay, so hold on real quick.
Yeah.
So your dad already had good genetics.
That's right.
And so therefore, I mean, one of your best body parts is your arms. If you looked at your dad and you had to critique your dad right now, would you say that his arms are bigger than yours? Does he still train?
He trains 3 times a week now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but when I've seen pictures,
yes,
when he was my age, his were better than mine.
Really?
Yeah.
So, and then same height or what?
Same height. I think he's 5'9".
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you outgrew him by an inch.
A little bit.
So, and then at this point, when you were going through this journey, did he buy you the membership or who got you the membership? Because for me, my mom bought me the membership, right? Because she knew that I wanted to go out there and exercise and she didn't know I wanted to play football, but that came later because I wanted to get stronger because I wasn't tall enough. And that worked out well for me because I was able to hook up with people in the gym who were able to take me kind of under their wing. But not to the extent that I'm doing for you, but just, hey, look, we had a huge Samoan population and I was able to get with the Samoans. And they're like, come over here, and I was like, this is my bad Samoan accent. And we have
a couple of those.
Yeah, big Samoan population in San Jose. And so the guys were like, come over here, come and train with us. And they would see me training in the corner and they're like, come on. But that was it. And they ate everything. So it wasn't much of a diet consultation, but the training was just big and strong and super friendly, like really, really great people. But for me, and then it just made me want to go back and see them. And sometimes I'd train with them. Sometimes I wouldn't. I'd just do my own thing. But I didn't have anybody like directly giving me specific information. Just when I was doing something wrong, they'd be like, hey, you're doing that wrong. Yeah. But for you, did your dad ever come and train with you? Or was it something where, again, who got the membership? What ended up happening there? So
I think my dad I needed to have like a parent signature with it. So he definitely, he came, he helped me sign up. And then, I mean, he's like super busy, always working, but then every once in a while, like every Saturday morning or something, he would come and work out with me. So he showed me like how to do chest, back, and all that different type of stuff. So yeah, I did learn from him at first. Yeah. But I think my main thing, I do a couple workouts with him. I had so much time, like freshman year of high school, I would sit down and just watch YouTube videos after YouTube videos from young influencers. And
who were your first few that you would watch?
Oh, like Steve Cook.
Yeah.
It was one of them.
Mine too, yeah.
And then, is it Athlete X?
Athlean, right?
Athlean X. And then there was another one with another guy with a similar name. He's tattoos everywhere.
Yeah.
And so learn from them. And my main thing when I first started working out was, and this was to my downfall at first, but I was slow and controlled every single rep. I would work out with my friends sometimes. I'd watch them swing the weight. I would watch them. And so, and they're ego lifting. And so I would literally take 10, 15 pound dumbbells and just do 1 million bicep curls with them, but it was perfect form. And so that's always what I harped on. And so that's kind of it was a mix from my dad. And then it was a mix from just countless hours of YouTube videos, counting my macros and all that stuff.
So when you were in the gym, did you feel like you wanted to be did you have a goal that you wanted to be just bigger, better because of the gram, or was it because of the fact that you had something in mind in terms of a sport?
Definitely not a sport. I was in cross country. That was just because I wanted to be with my friends and that was just fun. But I think I've always just been obsessed with looking my best. And I think that that's just what it was. I didn't necessarily have a huge goal. I was just like, I want to have a six pack and I want to look really good and feel good about myself.
What about competing? Was that ever a thing or
no? It was not.
No. So it was just more about her just being similar to those people that you want to emulate, those people that you're following.
That's right.
On social media.
Yeah. And really my dad. Yeah.
Got it. But your dad, was he big into wanting you to just keep progressing, or was it just one of those things that was more health and fitness related?
It was more health and fitness related. Yeah. It was like, he kind of got, like, he was my motivation. It was not necessarily him like pushing me to actually go out and do it.
Well, you push yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I'm sure, did you have some group of friends that you train with?
Yeah. I had a couple friends here and there who would come and train with me. And yeah, that was fun. But
did you feel like during high school, because you graduated last year?
That's right.
And so did you end up ever having to think that, oh, wait a minute, drinking during high school? Because I know that was a big thing for me, right? Like, where I wouldn't drink because I was a bodybuilder first, because I started training when I was 13 years old. So everything was like, oh, that's toxic for my system. I'd walk into a party and then they'd be like, hey man, there's a party going on. And they're like, oh, Hany's here. Like, you know what I mean?
He's in the corner with his Tupperware.
No, it wasn't Tupperware. What it was the guy. No, this is a true story. I would walk into the house, and I remember there's these parties in Almaden Valley, and so for those of you that know the San Jose area, the Almaden Hills, it's like the higher end neighborhood,
bougie.
Yeah, it's a little bit bougie, and so we'd go in there, and you say these beautiful homes, and then they're like, well, Hany, does he drink? And they're like, no. Does he smoke? And they're like, no. Like, what does he do? He's like, well, do you have a blender?
Literally. Like, oh, for margaritas?
No, man. They're like, yeah, he's going to come with a bag of powder. And they're like, what?
Bag of powder? All right.
Yeah, but it was chocolate. And it's like, and I'd walk in there and I literally would go over and take over the kitchen, and I'd pull out they would have the blender for me, that I have ice for me. I'd be like, give me some bananas, and I would throw in chocolate protein powder. And I'd call it the Flying Gorilla. And it was just, that's it, man. That was the drink. And we would put that in and just dump it all into the shaker. And I would walk around with the blender, because we'd have the old school blenders back then, not the little bullet type things that we have now. That I have
little glass one.
Yes, the glass one.
Yep.
So I would be walking around and be like, "Hey, what's up, guys? Like, what are you doing?" And they're like, "Is that good?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's really good, but you can't have any." I would like, you're not gonna take them from my cold dead hand. You're not taking my protein.
So if you're trying to get Hany to a party,
that's it. That's what
I
would
have a blender.
We'd always have it. And for those of you that, if you're listening and you know me from high school, you would remember me walking around a party. And they would just all be like, "This is hilarious." Yeah, until a little bit later, and then I started, experimenting with cigars, and that was a little bit later. I'm like, if Arnold can smoke a cigar, I can smoke a cigar. And that started my my little journey down that road. But I'll hold that one for me and Phil Heath. We had some good stories about cigars, but at the end of the day, that was my thing. Did you go through that same situation?
Yes. Yeah. So like, especially like sophomore and junior year, holy cow, 8 miles in the morning. And then I would go out, we'd go out with our friends at night, and I'm sitting there just watching them eat McDonald's, and I'm starving. And I'm just like, and I mean, like, I would eat I wasn't eating that much. I think I was consuming like 1,500 calories a day. And I was like, it was not healthy, but I just was like so obsessed with that. And so
because you wanted to be lean?
Yeah.
Oh,
lean.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I just looking back at it, I just remember being at school lunch, and I'm like eating I think like my entire meal was 2 eggs and a granola bar. And then like, I just was looking at anything, and I was like, oh, I want to eat it so bad, but I just did not. And if I did go out, and maybe if like we did happen to drink, I was doing extra cardio and I was doing all this extra stuff just to make up for that.
Wow.
But I would do it but it wasn't a regular occurrence. It would happen like every other month or something like that, just for one night. But yeah.
Pretty extreme discipline.
That is crazy because, during wrestling, we'd have to cut weight. You don't eat, or you have to cut back pretty dramatically. And then you're trying to dehydrate a bit just to be able to continue to make weight. Or I used to compete as a teenager. You would have to create a lot of discipline and not eat, cut calories, do those things. Or when I say not eat, I'm saying not eating garbage, right? I mean, you still eat.
Yeah.
But I think that knowing that you're doing this, you're not wrestling, You're not trying to lose weight for any kind of sport. You're just doing this because you want to look good at that such a young age. And we're talking about 15?
Yep.
Wow. See, this is a huge like eye-opening thing for me at that such a young age, that there's people out there doing this, all because you're seeing these other influencers that look good. And now where are you getting your information? Is it YouTube? Is that where you're getting your information?
Yep.
Got it. And then in our generation, it was the magazines. It was Flex Magazine. It was Muscle and Fitness. It was Muscular Development. Any of those magazines, depending on how hardcore you were, you start at the bottom and work your way up. But that's where the information came. Now with the internet and everything else, it was, I think, influencers.
And now TikTok. TikTok wasn't around then, but now I think the majority of information, people are just scrolling through TikTok, and then you'll find a good page and you'll just watch all the videos.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So going forward now, what we started doing was when we started seeing each other a little bit more, I said, hey, do you want to go ahead and do a training session with me just so we can see how it goes? And we did that. No cameras, nothing, just something that we just
I'm so happy that was not on camera.
I wasn't going to do that.
The leg day?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That was the first workout too.
But you got to remember, I was going to train legs, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't something where it was planned.
No pre-workout. There was no pre-workout I took. I think I was underhydrated that day too. That's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah, I just keep saying other stuff. I didn't get an extra hour of sleep.
Yep. Wow. So I'm starting to get my leg workouts back. And it's one of those things where I went into the gym and I see him, and I think he just got off work.
Yeah, I was off work in the office. You came in and I asked you what you were hitting, and you're doing legs, and you're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Legs." And you want to work out together? And I was like, sure, let's do it.
I think I had he realized that was the wrong thing to say. No, actually, I'm doing arms.
No, I realized on leg extensions.
Yeah.
Well, we did FST7 Preload.
Oh,
yeah. We did FST7 Preload because I got to be able to be careful with my heavy, compound movements and squats because of my knee. And so I said, okay, we're going to do an FST7 Preload. And he's like, okay, I'll just tell me how to do it, because he's never done it before. And so I said, okay, here we go. And then I think after the first exercise, he was like, okay, we're done, right?
That was a great workout.
The movie's over. Yeah. This movie is over. Hopefully there'll be no sequel. That's it. But yeah, how did you feel during that workout?
Yeah, it was, right before that, I was going to say, so I remember your wife came up to me and you were like, you're training legs with Hany? No one does that. And I was like, oh, my goodness, like, what am I in for right now?
Well, she didn't believe me. She came to me and she says, oh, you set this up. I said, no, I'm training legs. And he says he's training legs. And I said, do you want to train legs with me? And she said, he volunteered for this shit? Oh, yeah. That's what she said. She's like, does he have any clue what he's getting himself into? I'm like, oh, he's obviously.
I definitely did not.
I'm looking at the clock. I said, yeah, he's going to know here in the next few minutes. And it's like, yeah. Does he have an emergency contact phone number? Does he have somebody? Yeah.
Something.
Wheelchair assistance. The workout. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So how did I feel? I think, okay, leg extensions, and then we did what was the other one? It was a hamstring exercise as well.
Yeah, we went to a leg curl.
Yeah, those two, I was feeling it. I was okay because I've done normally I'll do 4 sets of 15 on leg extension. And I'll push it. Now the extra little 5 reps that we were doing. Yeah. But as soon as those 2 exercises were done, and then we went on to the pendulum squat machine and the hack squat machine, that's where you saw me start to get a little bit cold. And I was like, and it's insane. I feel like I had a good leg day. If I take any average gym goer and I put them through my old leg day, they're dying. They look like I looked. But then this was just a total another level. Rest time was cut very, very short. And so, but then getting on the pendulum squat, hack squat, I felt already burned out. And then I started getting a little bit nauseous, and I was feeling it. And I remember not being able to walk to get water. Yeah. I tried to get water, and I took 3 breaks on the way there. and that was rough. And I remember I had a friend, I'm sweating from my forearms and everything like that. And he comes up to me, he's like, hey, how's it going? And I just looked at him, and it's not going good. But that's how the leg day went. I remember at the end, we were trying to do lunges with the dumbbells, 35-pound dumbbells. And usually I felt like you told me we were only gonna do 5 exercises. So I thought we were kind of done there. And then my knees just dropped to the floor. and I could not lift the dumbbells. And he was like, well, we're going to do a few other exercises, but
it was 5 quad exercises. So we were doing, then we threw in a couple of hamstring exercises. So it came out to,
I don't know why you're complaining.
Yes, no, so it's 7. But I think the biggest thing too was that you felt that you had a certain level of conditioning for the type of workout that you're used to, but doing the extra reps and the sets, and I call these the sets that you can see, right? You can see the difference and after you do an actual set. My FST7 workouts are built around that, and being able to create that 3-dimensionality that you grow into. So not only do you see it there and then, but you'll see it for days to come, and it helps you break those plateaus. But when he told me, he goes, I got to go to the bathroom. And I was like, okay. Or I think he said he wanted you to drink water. He didn't come back for like 5 minutes.
No, I did not.
Everyone came up to me and they're like, where is he? And I was like, I don't know. It said,
bear crawling all the way back.
No, he was literally, I think every he made a stop at like the curl, machine. Then he made a stop over at the chest press. Then he stopped and he was like, and he's like holding it. And I'm like, okay, he's hurting pretty bad. And I wasn't trying to hurt him. I really wasn't. It wasn't one of those things where we were training together, and then a couple of the other exercises that I don't do, but all my athletes do, that I'm like, okay, great. I can give that to him because at the end of the day, I know he's able to do it because he's never had, he doesn't have any injuries with his ACL like I had and all these other things. And at the end of the day, then you did a great job. You did a great job, but I think you were sore for a couple of days.
I was told it was 70%. That was the
workout. Because 60% of the time it works every time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And but yeah, I was. It was really chill. It was actually really chill, but it was just very like pragmatic, and it was a good leg workout. Yeah. But it was by no means an all-out leg assault.
I think everybody was they're gonna be blowing up the comments asking to turn up that dial from 70 and keep cranking that up. I think they're gonna want to see it on video.
Looking back at it, it would have been good to video, but again, it was totally random. It was all that. And then that's when I said, we should turn around and do a workout. Let's film it. Yeah. And let's go ahead and do it. And again, I think that even when I was trying to coach you about what to take pre-workout, how to take the different products and everything else, because you started to dabble in more sophisticated products like the Evogen products, I think, since we moved here, right? Yeah. When we started coming to the gym, can you tell me a little bit about that? Because did you feel the difference in the different products? Because again, I'm everything I build is around natural bodybuilding, and I feel supplements are such a huge part of helping with the recovery process, whether it's essential amino acids, whether they're, a really good pre-workout that's going to help with blood flow, whether you're taking a super carb that's going to help you with being able to replenish your glycogen levels. Were you like, what was your experience with that stuff? Was that something where you just took like C4? Is it, because a lot of people start off with that or one of the other brands?
I did start off with C4.
There you go.
There you go.
It's such a like, kind of iconic brand for a very long time. Yeah. It's sold at Costco. It's very readily available.
It was cheap, $20.
Yep.
On Amazon.
There you go.
Yeah.
$20 on Amazon. And at the end of the day, I guess my whole thing is walk me through your supplement journey. What are the supplements you like to take? What are the stuff? And again, it doesn't have to be Evogen. You could talk about whatever you want, but creatine, all of those things. I just want to because again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get people that are out there that might have similar questions or going through a similar journey to be able to absorb information from you because they may be a little bit older, or a little bit younger than you, but might have some, similar questions.
Right. So yeah, freshman year, I got on C4. I had little money, so that was like in the budget. And then I took that for a while, and then I remember walking into a GNC and looking like Bucked Up was my second one. Okay. But holy cow, I'm like $45. I'm like really trying to rationalize this. And I kid you not, first time I bought the pre-workout, went back and returned it. and then I like before I used it. Right. And so I was just like, this is too expensive. And then I went back and bought it again. But then after I took that, I just realized I was like, this makes a difference. Like Bucked Up compared to C4, total difference.
Felt a better.
I did, absolutely. Yeah. Like endurance wise.
But you got to remember the price point is super important because with the younger generation, they're always going after price, or most of them. Yeah. And what they're starting to understand is I'm starting to see other brands now, even the entry level brands are raising their prices because they're putting better ingredients in, and they're getting into the $40, $50 range, with Evogen, it's $50 minus any coupons out there, but $45 to $50. At the end of the day, I think you can really tell a difference between a $20 pre-workout and a $45, $50 pre-workout.
Huge difference especially in the flavor. I noticed too. Like C4, it was great for what it was. It was just like very like tangy, like very, and then it was like artificial, and then Bucked Up was a little bit more natural, great flavor. Like I think I got like the Freedom Rocks or something like that. and that like really, I was like really excited about that. And then but endurance wise, I really felt a huge difference. And then I actually stepped it up. This is where the caffeine addiction started to come in. Then I got the Woke AF, and then didn't feel a huge difference in all honesty between those two. And then I was taking that, and then I started working at Absolute Recomp, and then we have supplements there. We have Rise, we have now Evogen, and then we also had we had a bunch of different ones at some point, like Joker, I know was one of them. I think that was the one I took after. And that one was on the same level. And then really where I felt another jump was then to when I took Rise pre-workout. That had like, it's pushing like over 350 mgs of caffeine, ton of it on it, citrulline, all the good pump. And then that felt good for a while, and V1X as well. And then, but then seriously, like then you guys came in, met you, started selling supplements at the store. And I think I actually realized, like I'll tell people like what actually a good pre-workout is it also shouldn't have to rely on caffeine for you to feel some huge kick. It's got 200 mgs of caffeine in your pre-workout, but then there are all the different pumps, the NO3 nitrate in there is huge. And then and not only that, just like the amount of value you get for it, there's creatine in there as well, DMAE. And so that stuff is huge that you don't see in other pre-workouts. And so that's why endurance and everything like that goes up in my workouts when I mix like a extreme, a 3D. And
you're an AQ addict like myself, right?
Oh my goodness, the glycerol.
Glycerol pumps are insane.
Yeah.
The thing is, even hearing you talk about understanding the ingredients, because a lot of people don't even understand it when they sell it, right? They work at GNC, they work at Vitamin Shop. They don't even understand all the differences and the nuances and how you create synergistic effects on NO3 with citrulline, or whether it's a NO3 that's bound to citrulline, or whether it's bound to creatine, which is in one of the other products. And they all have really cool different abilities to be able to do things with increasing blood flow. And I think that with someone so young, you just, again, I don't think about it. I really didn't. I go, yeah, these call them kids, but they're adults, young adults, they know so much. And because it's just the information flow, because of the internet, because of YouTube, because of all of the things. I was so used to just working with, getting guys that were good to great or great to legendary, that you kind of lose sight, because it's been so long since I've worked with a younger generation of athletes, that it's like, wow, they have a really good capacity to learn, because they know some of the the basics of these ingredients, because they're learning from the internet at such a young age. There's like 15, 16-year-olds that really know their pre-workouts, and being able to work on the synergies of the products, whether it's to, when to include the EAAs in, when to include the nitric oxide, when to throw in like an AQ.
I've seen a huge difference since I worked at GNC, 6 years ago or so, and people would in that age bracket would come in, which was my age bracket at the time, and just have no clue on what the difference between a casein and isolate would be.
Right.
It's just like protein's protein. And they would have really no clue, just like, oh, I'll just take this one because it has this much protein per scoop or something along those lines. But now people are like, okay, where is this derived from? What are the other ingredients added into it? Like, people are a lot more intuitive just because there is so much more information out there, which is good and a bad thing. But it is cool to see people are looking a bit more into it to make more informed decisions when it comes to supplements.
So when you went and started to dabble in our stuff, what did you feel? Did you feel like the recovery was better? Did you feel like the pumps were better? Well, I mean, what was it? Because I'm just trying to get a better guess. We never had this conversation.
Right.
I just know that you were a big fan, and you kept saying, oh my God, I tried this or I tried that. But I guess just to be able to understand, what was it?
It was definitely the main supplement was the EVP AQ. Like that, I've tried different pumps before, bought them from GNC, and we even had other brands at Absolute Recomp, and they didn't really feel a huge difference. That is the one thing, because like NO3 nitrate and those pills that you take for pump affect people differently, and glycerol affects everybody the exact same way. And so that's why like I knew that this was working. And like just putting that in my pre-workout, fill out the little cap, put it in there. And that made the biggest difference for me. And then just having like all the pump in there, it's just an overall very well balanced pre-workout where I don't feel like I'm also like
overstimmed.
I used to take 2 scoops of Mesomorph. And I didn't feel anything for the first couple months.
There's a bunch of different versions of that. Were you taking the DMA version?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that was not healthy. But I did that for a couple months. And then one day, double scooped it, started getting nauseous. And I was like, this is weird. Like maybe I'm just having an off day. Did the next day, felt the same way. And so I was just like, that's when I really started to dial it back. And that's when I started to look into my pre-workouts and what am I actually putting into my body and what's actually a well-balanced pre-workout besides just a lot of caffeine.
Did you notice, again, many years ago, I started Evogen with a non-stim pre-workout. The original EVP didn't have any caffeine. And it's basically what EVP 3D is now. It was the first generation of that before the nitrates were available. And so when I made that and I started the brand, it was all about blood flow. FST7 is about blood flow, and the Evogen EVP, original EVP, was all about blood flow, which is, like I said, now the EVP 3D. And the blood flow is going to help with just being able to get the nutrients in there and basically get that muscle to be rounder and fuller. But I think that people don't realize, because I have to kind of go back in time and explain, when you're taking heavy amounts of stimulant, heavy amounts of caffeine, or like even stimulants like DMAA when it was available, and it's still out there. There's a lot of stores that still have versions, even though it's supposed to be quote unquote banned.
Kind of underground.
Well, yeah, it's kind of just gone underground, or different variants of these stimulants. People don't understand those are vasoconstrictors. They make you feel like you can pick up a truck and you can just pick up 300 or 400 or 500 pounds. But really what's happening is you actually reduce blood flow to the point where it actually creates erectile dysfunction. Because, they used to call it DMAA dick. And you'd be like, people would always say, oh my God, have you heard of that? And I go, yeah, you're taking DMAA. That's what happens because you get such restriction from the blood because of the fact that it basically constricts your, all your blood vessels. And so it makes you mentally feel pumped up. So people go, oh, I get such a great pump from it. No, that might be some kind of mind pump that you're talking about. That might be something that's going on in your head that says, hey, look, I feel like I can do something. But that's the same as tequila, right? For those of you out there who've dabbled in
You're not talking about the pre-workout tequila?
No, I'm not talking about the pre-workout tequila. I'm talking about the fact that if you drink enough alcohol, you will feel like you are an MMA fighter after watching an MMA fight. And people, watch a boxing match and they feel like they're Mike Tyson. and people do, stupid shit at soccer games. You go to Europe, go to the UK, and they do crazy shit. And because it warps your sense of reality. And I feel that that's how some of these stimulants create this.
Everybody talks about vasodilators. Nobody talks about vasoconstrictors. Like nobody talks about the opposite effects. It's just like more pump stuff and everything. But when you keep raising the caffeine with it, it's a balance.
It's not just caffeine. It's all the other certain ingredients like DMAA, derivatives of DMAA that are still out there, and the caffeine can do it too because it can dehydrate at high levels, as well as being which is going to kill your pump, make you feel nauseous, and then also give you tachycardia. It can cause irregular heartbeat. There's a lot of things that it can do on the negative side. So it's not just what's in the ingredient in the products, but what has been left out, where a lot of people don't understand, because all they're trying to do is trying to chase someone's addiction to a stimulant, because they're just trying to make some kind of street legal meth out there. Where I was always trying to increase blood flow because I wanted to try to change the muscle so that it looks photoshopped. It looks 3D. So I always wanted to be able to do that, whether it was on the training side, whether it was on the diet side, to be able to help fulfill those, reintroduce glycogen at the right points so that you can be able to do that while you're trying to still get lean. And then also on the supplements by being able to create vasodilation at a high level, and then hyperhydration through EVPAQ. All of those things that I created was so that that would happen. But I think that going back, I haven't spoken enough about this, especially during podcasts. about how vasoconstriction really kills not only your pumps, even though you think you're pumped up. Again, it's the tequila syndrome. You think that you're taller. You think you're more, skilled. That's your MMA skills. You think that you think you're John Wick. And then you think that sometimes you even think you're rich. And that's what happens.
Works wonders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you wake up and you're broke and you're 4'11" and
back to real life.
And that's it. And that's it. Back to real life with a pretty shitty hangover afterwards. But for that moment in time, you were a very rich John Wick that was just badass in your own mind.
Well, and it's so interesting. There are kids that we sell the Evogen supplements up there, and I'll talk to them about it, and they will not purchase any other brand if it does not have the DMAA.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
Wow. Because the addiction is real.
Yeah.
So again, it's not good for you guys. There's a reason why it was taken off the market. I've never used that ingredient ever in the history of my brand, because I always knew that when I did take it and I tried it out, I go, wow, this kind of gives you this really mental buzz.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I wasn't getting a pump. I'm like, this thing is a massive vasoconstrictor. And then also people that had borderline high blood pressure was going through the roof. So it was an even further acknowledgement to how bad the effects of the product was, the ingredient. And then you would end up getting addicted to it to the point where you felt like you need to take more and more and more. So you get more of the side effects, but you don't get as much of that mental stimulant that it caused, similar to meth. And then what ended up happening was that people end up getting more, getting sick because they had to overload so much on it to get that same feeling as the first time that they took it. And they never get the feeling of this first time because it was almost, like I said, almost similar to meth.
Isn't it a very similar molecule?
Yeah.
It's very similar, correct? Yeah.
When you start looking at the chemistry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then they make all these variants of it to try to work around, FDA got laws and guidelines and everything. But at the end of the day, it's that young generation that's still going through that. They're still finding some underground stimulants that are based in these small little mom and pop bathtub brands, and that are like, oh, I took this, I feel great. And then you look at them and they're like this. Their arms don't get pumped. Yeah. Nothing gets full, any of those other things. So now it's all about blood flow. So for those of you listening out there, again, limit your stimulants, especially all the synthetics. If you're taking caffeine or whatnot, you got to be able to make sure that you're taking things in combinations that are going to still allow you to get that energy and be able to break plateaus. But you got to be careful because a lot of these things are, vasoconstrictors, plain and simple. But enough about that. Let's talk a little bit about going into the next generation of these workouts. When we got together and we did chest, how did that feel? Because you could actually, I'll put the link below, but the link to the workout shows that people like this information. And this is one of the reasons why I brought you on the podcast. Yeah. Because I didn't plan this out earlier. This was just since we did the workout. And then people are like, oh my God, they were messaging me and say, could you do a follow-up on this? Can you talk a little bit more about this? Can we want to know the history of what happened with the situation? How you guys met? How's that been so far? I guess, how was the workout? Because did you feel like you learned a lot from it?
I did. Yeah. I felt like I learned a ton. What I did notice, I really do feel like the first leg day that really introduced it to me. Like that was this is how the intensity is going to be. And then I had a better expectation for chest day. And so it's very it's crazy. I'll never sweat during my workouts. Never have. And this is the first.
You live in Texas and you never sweat during your workouts?
No. Because doing all this cardio, I do a lot of cardio. And so I don't have a ton of stuff to burn off. And so going through these workouts, holy cow, I'm sweating from my forearms on chest day. It's insane. And I'm doing the amount of, I just remember I'm just struggling with doing push-ups at the end. And, I couldn't even do the last one. I felt
it was one of your heavier chest days yet so far, right?
That's right. Yeah. I normally don't go heavy.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, you taught me how to go much heavier intensity. Doing those half reps at the very end is huge, and actually also showing me the difference between fatigue and just not being able to do anything else.
Failure.
Right. Yeah, fatigue and failure. And so we actually went to failure instead. I always go to fatigue, and that's the main difference. And so that's what I definitely need to do to bring it to the next level to continue my muscle growth. And I kind of hit a plateau, and that's going to help me go further.
Well, I think the biggest thing is going back, and we're going to reiterate this. When you fatigue, you're hitting a rep scheme that you has predetermined, and then you stop, or you just basically have gotten tired to the point where you just kind of stop or slow down, and then you end up basically putting the weights back. That's fatigue. Muscular failure is basically when you can't go through not only the entire range of motion, but even during short repetitions and short reps ranges. So when I was doing, I believe we were doing partials at the very end. We were doing 3 to 5 partials, and then you couldn't even do partials at the end.
Yeah.
Or when we were doing push-ups and you ended up collapsing, right? Any of those things where you turn around and say, okay, well, I'm doing these exercises to the point where I just can't do them anymore. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is the fact that you're doing this, you're allowing us to go through these workouts, but then the question came up even afterwards, because I guess we've never had a really serious question about super subs. we call
topic.
It super subs,
Yep.
PEDs. And I think everyone's going to ask. And it took me a little minute. And there's a story behind this too, right? I had to literally call him.
I was in the room.
Were you?
Yeah, I was there with you.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you said I'm here with Austin.
Yeah. And I reached out to you, and I think it was a couple days after the workout, right?
That's right.
And Austin and I were talking about it, and I'm assuming, he's probably taking something.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it wasn't about that. And I don't like to make it about, PEDs, this, that. But I said, but I haven't came up and asked him. And so I'll let you tell the story because you tell it better than I.
Yeah. So, because I remember, I think it was the same day, I think, or maybe the next day after you and me did a couple TikToks together, and I was telling you how it's natural.
Yeah.
And so I'm at work, get a call from Hany. And so I step outside and I just pick up the phone. I'm just, hey, how's it going? Good. Are you alone? I'm like, yeah, I'm alone. And you're not next to any coworkers or anything? No one's around? No, I'm all by myself. Where are you? I'm outside. Okay, good. Are you on steroids or not? and I'm going like, no, I'm completely natural. And this is hilarious because and then you continue, no D-ball, no trend, no nothing.
Oh, I'm going through work. Because now I'm just saying,
and
like,
you also kept reiterating, you're like, hey, it's okay.
100%.
It's okay if you are. Just gotta know.
And I swear, I was telling my friends this after I went back inside. He was making me think, like, making me feel guilty. Am I natural? Like, I was like, have I taken anything? I was like, should I feel bad for not being on something right now? And I was like, no, like, I'm just like, I don't know what's in the creatine, but like, unless there's something in the creatine, no. Like, it was actually, I got a question on Instagram. Like, I'll do like, ask me a question, and people go, are you on steroids? And said no. And then like right after that, I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't even know where I'd get them from. In all honesty. And I was like, what do you like? Because everybody assumes like, yes, like I'm sure, yes, you can get them. You can find a way to get them, right? Like if you're even like 16, 17, 18, whatever. And, but they think that it's like so easy. I'm going like, do you guys think I'm just walking into a 7-Eleven purchasing my Slurpee? And I'm like, let me get some D-ball with that, please. like that's not how that works.
Well, okay. So, but you gotta remember, this is what I did when I started going over the drugs, it was because also I'm including every kind of peptide.
Mm-hmm.
Have you taken peptides ever?
No.
Okay. Have you taken SARMs ever?
No.
Okay. Those are the things, because at the end of the day, I don't care if you did or you didn't.
Right.
Because again, I'll give you my 2 cents about what I think about them, because I don't like SARMs. I don't like peptides. And honestly, I don't like athletes at your age to start dabbling in drugs, especially if they don't have to, because until you're maxed out, and then you can make a decision on what to do. Even though everybody at 18 years old can make a decision, they're adults, I always think that you're still not, you shouldn't be making those decisions until a little bit later on, until you're developing as far as you can naturally. That was always what my philosophy still is. It was for myself and still is. And so one of those things is that if nowadays people go, well, I'm natural, but I take SARMs, or I'm natural, but I take peptides, because they're natural.
Or they don't even know. I've talked to people before, and I'm like, hey, have you ever taken anything? No, I haven't taken anything. My coach, has given me these things called like Anavar. I just take them. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
All right.
Does that really happen?
I've heard that multiple times. Like people I've even heard like young women, like 19 or so, like, oh yeah, my coach has just been giving me these things called, like Anavar before my workouts to give me whatever. you don't know what that is. That's not just a supplement.
That's why again, because I'm learning about the new generation so much.
Yeah.
I'm learning as much as I'm teaching. And I'm just saying, okay, some people think that clenbuterol is just, it's a fat burner like liposide.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a drug. And it's one of those things where that's why I went through every single one with you. Like not every single one, but every single category, because I don't want there to be a mix up.
And then
I want to know
4 or 5 times.
I did. I beat him
right before the podcast started.
I was like,
right before the podcast started, Hany looked at him and was like, just one more time.
Yeah.
Are you? And so
and that's it. Because you know what? I will drug test you.
I'll throw it up on the Instagram page.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it was always the biggest pet peeve of mine is that when I competed naturally, because all of my shows were natural shows that I did, so many people were just like, well, if you just took a little of this or you just took a little of that, you would be so much better. And it's just like, it's natural. It says natural. Yeah, but you already took the drug test. It was done earlier, or you could have done this. Just all these little workarounds that they, now for me, it was like almost like, okay, that's almost like being 22 years old and getting a fake ID that you're 19 and you want to go compete in there. If you're natural, be natural. If you're not, go enhanced. It's fine. Just don't try to pretend like you aren't. And there are people in this industry that do, and some people have made a very good living out of trying to pretend that they're natural. But at the end of the day, it's up to them. They're taking it to their grave, who it is and who it isn't. I mean, just even this Liver King thing. Yeah. I mean, people are asking me about this Liver King thing, and I just, I didn't know who he was, and that's a whole different podcast.
He's saying he's natural, right?
Yes. Yeah. He says he's natural. He says he gets his power and his strength and his recovery from
ancestral powers
from bone marrow.
It's entertaining.
Yeah. I started dabbling in that, and that's its own podcast. We should definitely go down that, because that's a deep rabbit hole we can go into. But I think that at the end of the day, just because, I like David and I think that he's a really nice guy, but I feel that he just needs to be very transparent, because at the end of the day, there's no reason if I'm going to do PEDs, it's fine. Just be open about it. It's been, because this whole project that we're talking about, it's all been about transparency. And I want people to understand what they can learn from, whether it's nutrition, whether it's training, whether it's supplements, whether it's super supplements, any of those things that we were going to do in regards to giving a window into the life of a beginning bodybuilder. The other thing that you hit me with that I wasn't really aware of is you actually want to compete. I didn't think that you did. I thought you wanted to do the whole thing for the gram or for TikTok or whatnot. But you just threw that on me the other day when I saw you at the gym.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I think, and I did say that in the YouTube video, like doing classic is something that I was kind of considering. Mm-hmm. And if I were to compete, I would do that. I think I made the decision that I am going to compete. I think that what I have noticed is it actually does tie into social media. Doing social media, you see the individuals who compete, that is a huge deal for them, and that they get so much more growth out of all their platforms for doing that. So it's kind of like a side thing for that as well, and that'll help that grow. And so I also just want to take my physique to the next level. And see, I think the main thing honestly was just like, right now I wasn't looking to spend the money, and so now it makes more sense, and it's more of an investment in myself. And
yeah, you didn't even want to spend $45 for bucked up before.
That's right.
That was
on a budget, balling on a budget,
bodybuilding on a budget. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, we definitely can talk more about that too, about what are the key things that are important. I guess you tell me what you think. Let's talk about that. Let's not wait that for another podcast on that. Let's talk about that. And what are the key 3, if you had to pick 3 different product categories again, what are the 3 that you feel are the most beneficial if you had to pick 3 or let's just say up to 4 for that new beginning bodybuilder? What would they be?
For the first 3 years of me lifting, I only took 3 supplements, and it was pre-workout, protein powder, and creatine.
Okay. And then tell me how you used it. You took the pre-workout 20 minutes before you trained?
No, I would take the pre-workout or drink in the middle of my workout. So, or like
that bothers me.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
I don't do it anymore.
You guys talked about that during the chest workout also.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. We did. Yeah, you did. And for those listening, if you haven't watched the video yet, I'm a huge advocate of taking your pre-workout pre-workout.
Wait, what?
I saw a TikTok. It told me to do it during the workout.
Yeah, and
there you go.
I know why people do it, because I think that they want to kind of sustain their energy level a little bit. But I feel that to get the benefits of all of the pump ingredients and to get the nootropics to be able to really kick in, taking 20 to 30 minutes beforehand is really important, so that you're going to be able to get massive vasodilation, maximum vasodilation, because it's going to take a while to kick in. And sipping things during your workout might make you feel a little bit better. But I'd like to have athletes sip, whether it's, glyco, using glycogen or using aminochem during the workouts. So that's the essential amino acids, along with any kind of carbohydrate product, depending on whether or not they're on, prep or not, during the workout, because then you're getting the recovery, the hydration, you're getting additional blood flow through S7, all of those ingredients, so that you can continue to keep the anti-catabolic effects of the essential amino acids inside your program. But again, if someone says, hey, I like to take an extra scoop or an extra half a scoop and I like to sip it during the workout, there's nothing wrong with that to keep you going. But you want to be able to try to get as much of the other clinical dosages of your citrulline, the nitrates, everything else before the workout, get them fully kicked in, then be able to turn around.
As they're intended to be used.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why they call it pre-workout. But again, I know a lot of people have the different methodologies, and I see people even drinking a lot of energy drinks before they go into the gym now, because that's their pre-workout, or drink coffee. It's just it's a thing. I don't think coffee is a big thing for the younger generation.
I see a few Starbucks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I see some people walk in with that. Major though, it's the energy drinks, the C4 drinks, all this.
All the RTD type.
I feel like I still see some people out there that are kind of going the old school, a little kind of cheap way of just some coffee, some salt, and some Rice Krispie treats or something like that, just to get some carbs, some salt, and some caffeine in. But yeah, no, I think that for the most part, that's kind of, I haven't seen too many people with coffee.
Yeah, I do not recommend that at all. And
no.
let me tell you why. The salt is okay. The coffee is okay to get you. The Rice Krispie treats normally will get your blood sugar to crash, and then you're going to end up feeling tired. So if you want to do something like that afterwards, a lot of people go like gummy bears, sour strips, whatever it is, Sour Patch Kids, all those stuff afterwards to get some carbs in you post-workout, because your body's ability to absorb those carbs at a high level. And then if you crash a little bit, it's okay. You're done with the workout. You do not want to crash in the beginning of your workout, because you took in sugar and then your body is getting a massive insulin spike. And then now all of a sudden you just start to get you crash. Yeah. You don't want that to happen either. Otherwise you're going to be yawning during your workout. So again, I don't know who's doing that now, but I don't recommend it, just because I do see the Rice Krispie treats. I think they're sold at the gym.
We sell a lot of Rice Krispie treats. Like we're restocking every week.
Yeah. And it's because, who's taking that? Is it mostly the powerlifters?
No, kids.
Just kids.
Oh, yeah, like 16 to 18.
Got it.
Yeah. I like legitimately like 1 in every 4 people buy a Rice Krispie treat.
And are they eating that before or after they train?
Right at the beginning.
The beginning.
Yeah, because I saw several. There was a big phase on TikTok where there's a ton of viral TikToks going out there of, if you want the best workout of your life, of your life, eat 1 or 2 Rice Krispie treats before you go train.
Marketing
everybody. They probably were from whatever Post or whatever.
Kellogg or whatever. Yeah, it's you don't see any of those little guys on that the Rice Krispie treat, snap, crackle, and pop. None of them look like they work out guys. I'm just telling you right now. If they start swelling up, make sure they piss in a cup, because they're going to be testing positive. It's not the Rice Krispie treat.
It's a big thing right now.
But yeah, but I can understand why they would think that. Because it's just it's a carbohydrate. It's easy to absorb, all of that. But yeah, I guess I'm just a little more complicated than that. I like to do other things that are a little bit more time released. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the show. So you want to do a show? You want to do a natural show? That's
right.
Yes.
And like something very interesting to talk about, like you were talking about earlier, is what I have heard from people say is there are no more natural shows anymore. Like you said, you try to compete in a natural competition, and then they're all saying, "Hey, well, you take
this or do that." Yes,
and then
I think there's people who cheat. It's just how it is. It's how it's going to go. Now, do I think that everybody cheats? No,
right.
But I do think that there's a lot of cheaters out there when it comes to natural competitions, or at least there was back in my day. But I think that I don't like to speak in absolutes. But I do think that one guy that comes to mind is David Lieberman. He's a NPC promoter out of Ohio, and he has an Ohio Natural. I think it's still around, but I had a guy that was actually from here, from Dallas, that ended up doing that show and winning it. And they are like, oh my God, he's on drugs. I'm like, no, he's not. He did years and years ago, which still can benefit him because he did do the, he did gear back in the day, but it wasn't like you or myself that were lifetime drug free. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where I believe his Natural Ohio is still around. And I believe that he was always dead set on trying to catch cheaters and making sure that, and so that I wish that show was around and I would have known about it when I was competing in California. And because he was always dead set on trying to make sure that he had the utmost, drug testing and everything else. So that's what came to mind when you said that to me the other day. I go, oh, I got to see if his Natural Ohio is still there. And David, if you're out there, hit me up, let me know. Because I know he does follow me. It's one of those things I'll definitely reach out to him and find out, but that show comes to mind. So there are some out there, and it is within the NPC organization, which does, again, have so much validity because of how big it is. And it's a feeder system to becoming, being able to get eventually on the Olympia stage. And then people are going to start asking, well, can you be natural and go to the Olympia? That is an absolute yes, because I know a person who did it. I know several people who've done it. But getting into those people, actually, one of them I'll probably bring here. That, yeah.
Oh,
there's a couple of people,
yeah,
and he did do open. So, and some people who know history do know who this person is, but I will bring that person here.
Mysterious.
Yes. But I think that it is obviously very dependent on your genetics. Can it genetically, you got to have, these people have very, very good genetics to be able to do anything like that, to be able to get on stage and win a show naturally. That's going against enhanced individuals. It's very, very difficult, but it's not impossible, but it is very, very, very difficult. It's a needle in a haystack. You got to have to be super genetically gifted. But, the thing that you also have to understand is, actually, I'm going to just say it. It was Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman he did the Olympia, his first Olympia. He didn't get a call out. He didn't get his first call out, mm-hmm. but he was still natural then. And he's talked about that. And at some point we'll bring him on. Cause I think when I first started the podcast, I had Ronnie on, but I'd like to get him in person because he's only half an hour away in Arlington. Yep. With his bunch of kids. He's had so many, every time I'm hearing the kids in the background going nuts when I talked about Ronnie. So, because I didn't want people to think that I was alluding that some of the other, it was somebody else, but it was Ronnie Coleman when he did his first Olympia, but he didn't get a call out. I think it was 1992. I think he was sitting on the side of the stage and they forgot about him. But because when he did the Universe, it was drug tested. I believe it was the Universe drug tested. And then it was an automatic invite to the Olympia. And he was there. He competed, but he didn't get a comparison, mm-hmm. which sucks because I think that everybody should get a comparison. And now the way that they do it, everybody gets a comparison. But back then he didn't. But I remember him telling me that and I was just blown away. And then obviously when he changed things up, he grew tremendously and then went on to win 8 Mr. Olympias. But I think that all in all with you, what's your goal, I guess, right now? What is it? Is it just being up on stage? Do you want to, eventually try to turn pro down the road? What is it?
Right now, my goal is to compete in Classic. Mm-hmm. I want to do that within the next year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I want to absolutely kill it on stage. Like if I'm going to go in, that's why I haven't thought about competing. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it 100%. And so I'm making the decision now that that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to go in 100% and I'm going to win. And so that's what I want to do. And now anything past
shots fired. Yep. Shots fired.
That's the mindset you got to have, right? And so anything past that, I don't know yet. I think just getting that step to going to Classic and winning that comp is huge.
That's awesome, man. Right. That's a great mindset. So you have approximately how many months before you are no longer a teenager?
About 11
so months. Last month
That's right.
Yeah, your birthday was in May. Got it. So basically you have a teen show you can do You're going to have to find a teen show.
Okay.
We'll help you find one.
Oh yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah, to do that first, step on stage as a teen beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the great teen shows.
And they just now limited that to 18 and 19 only, right? You can't compete if you're under 18. I don't think so.
I think that there was some liability things that did get changed up.
Yeah.
Because there were some times where they would do a little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
But now I believe if you have to be 17 or 18, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the exact times, but I do know that there were some adjustments recently in the NPC. I guess, what are you looking forward to the most right now with this journey? I mean, you just moved out of your mom and dad's house.
Yeah.
And you are the other guys influencers too that you live with?
No, they work at the gym with me.
Okay.
They got so we all work at the gym, and then we each have kind of like a side hustle that we're doing. And so on social media, they got different businesses.
That's cool, man. That's such a cool. It's like a little entrepreneurial house out there. And then, so going forward, next body part, what do you want to train?
Back. You gotta show me how to do lats.
Okay.
I think that's my biggest problem.
Because again, even though I did help you here and there, it was just sitting in watching you work out. And that's the other thing that blew me away. You know, when I grew up, no one's allowed to take off their shirt. No one's.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
no,
it was not.
It's not a thing.
It wasn't a thing. Now it's like everybody, and whether they're not, they should take off their shirt. Yeah. They're still taking off their shirt.
Oh my goodness. And it's so funny you say that. I have guys they just come to visit the gym. And they're going why does everybody have this? All these teenagers, and they're they've been working out for 6 months, and it's just he's why? And I'm and then I remember telling you this story, and you were yeah, you should have told them, teenagers who are bigger than you taking their shirts off.
Yeah, so. It was funny because I was blown away. I was just this is a thing, and I saw it at Destination.
Yep.
You know, when I was in Destination, I was shooting out there, and that was a thing. People were coming over and. It was funny because there were some young guys that were teenagers in 19, 20 and seeing me train Derek. And they were oh, take my shirt off. I'm going to start flexing. And you can see they're right next to us and we're training. And I'm just sitting here and Derek's wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And, you know, he looks big in a shirt.
Yeah.
But I'm the guys come over and they're flexing and they kind of wanted to get in the back of, in our shots. And I'm just okay. And then Derek's can I take my shirt off now? I mean, because he had a tank top on. He had a tank top on.
Yeah.
And I was no. Just train. And then now 3 or 4 of them coming over and they're and it's they're literally, you know, that word flexing on you.
Yeah.
They're
quite literally flexing on you.
On Derek and I trying to impress us, which they were very impressive for their age.
Yeah.
But I'm all right, Derek, go. Just release the Kraken. Yeah. I was release the Kraken. And then Derek just takes his shit off and he's just and then he goes over there. I think he just did a front lat spread and he looks like a mini Jay Cutler. And I'm just everyone's just yeah.
Shirts went back on quickly.
The sickest thing you ever saw. People are oh, okay. They started just scattering.
Yeah.
It was just scattering.
I think everyone, a lot of people have seen it too, especially the younger generation. Yeah. It's on TikTok. There's this one video of C-Bum taking his hat off. Cover. Yeah, takes his hat off and then takes a pump cover. And in the captions, everybody goes silent. Yeah. And you just see everybody just dropped away and they're just looking at him. And so I'm sure it's something similar to that. Where they're oh, shoot, that guy's a big guy.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because when we were coming up, it was Jay, it was Phil, it was Ronnie, all the top guys, that everybody looked up to. But now I think with Chris, C-Bum, aka C-Bum, it's become he's become an anomaly, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think that he's transcended that whole space with being able to. Is he probably one of the only bodybuilders that you guys follow at your age group?
Yep.
Okay.
He's he's the only one.
You think that's just you personally, or do you think that's just some of the?
I think in my age group, I think that's the only one that people really know.
Why?
Because I think it's his social media presence.
Okay.
And I think that it's his personality that I think people can relate to. Mm-hmm. I remember when he won his last comp, he was saying explaining to the crowd, man, I was going through this prep. Mm-hmm. This was a big deal for me. I almost gave up.
Right.
And people can really relate to that. And I think he has in a good way, he you just see his personality. It's very relatable. Mm-hmm. And so I think the other people who are competing next to him, you don't see that as much. They don't have the same presence. So
you think that transparency is what it is?
Transparency, and then I think he's been able to relate to the younger generation a lot more than other people have, like his brand and like through his clothing. And then like, I don't know how to explain it. Like he doesn't like, not like a childish personality, but definitely like has like, it's more, it's new.
Younger.
He keeps up younger.
It's a younger, right.
If you understand what I'm trying to say.
He connects with a younger demographic. Yeah.
And it's huge.
And he's a super nice guy. I mean, Chris is a really nice guy. And I think he shows his different sides to him, which is kind of the vulnerable side.
Yeah.
And I think that when we had Nick Walker here, right? And even Nick Walker, as vulnerable as a 300-pound man can be, was very vulnerable in the first 5 minutes of one of my podcasts. And it creates, people go, oh, I connect with him now. I didn't like him before, but I like, and I think that when people are very, and this is one of the same reasons why I wanted you to say, hey, look, if you're taking shit, say you're taking shit. If you're not, say you're not, but just don't lie.
Right.
Just don't lie. Cause again, it's going to make you look horrible. And that's the whole thing.
He's doing it again.
You get one more chance.
It's time.
Tell the truth. Turn off the lights. Get the spotlight on him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Some people just have that X factor though. And really it's the X factor of being able to connect genuinely, and audiences can tell. And when you're just super raw and just honest and just out there with your day-to-day life and everything along those lines, people can tell. Like we watched Steve Cook early on. He was kind of
Steve was I think was the first one in that generation of that crossover was Steve. Yeah, because I remember seeing it and I'm like, what's the big deal with this guy? Because again, I come from the Dorian Yates era. I come from Ronnie Coleman era, Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, all those guys that were just monsters. And there was social media had just started getting legs during Phil's era, but it wasn't anything like it is now. And with TikTok and everyone, it's a young generation. But I think that it was one of those things that everybody looked up to, that big bodybuilder that was winning the Olympia.
Yeah.
Now with the different divisions, you have people that connect with maybe a men's physique guy or a classic physique guy or those. But again, what Chris has been able to do with being able to connect, and I think that his sponsor, when he started, I think he might still be with him, was Gymshark when he was with him.
He still does some stuff.
I think he still does.
Yeah.
But but obviously he's doing Young LA, just like myself. I'm doing some stuff with Young LA. I know you guys, we talked about that a little bit at the gym where we connect with that. And that's a lifestyle brand. And I think that with some people, when you follow those platforms and you see some of these different, people that are shooting content, they create synergies within groups. Sometimes they live together. Sometimes they're a part of the same team. Sometimes they're doing things. And someone who you were following now introduces you to somebody else that is doing a lot of collaboration with them. And then you go, oh, wow, I didn't know who that guy was. So that's why I also think that the collaborations are really cool too. Yeah. Because you get a lot of that ability to be able to learn who these other people are, and you don't stick it to like the same thing, or you're not in a silo. Yeah. But yeah, so it was really interesting that you said that, because you're like, yeah, I don't really follow any bodybuilders. I was like, wow. Okay.
Competitive bodybuilders.
Well, competitive.
Exactly.
Bodybuilders. Yeah. Well, everybody's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Because that's what we all do when we go to the gym. You're trying to change your body. But yeah, I'm really cool. This is really cool. I think that the biggest thing is that for those that are listening to this on a podcast, then make sure you go to the YouTube. Ask whether you have questions for David, myself, and you want to know if there's some more information that we didn't cover on, and we can do a follow-up podcast, or if there's certain body parts or there's different things that we hadn't gone over. I want to try to create this as an open book, because what I'm doing with this is not just trying to be able to educate people and make sure we do this the most effective way, but I'm trying to create the most healthy way of being able to do bodybuilding. Because anytime you get into any type of extremes, you are going to risk your health to some degree. I don't care if you're a marathon runner or if you are a track athlete or any of these things. When you do that hyper competitive nature of anything, it could be football, it could be track, it could be just anything, there's a chance that you are risking your health at some point. And what we're doing is for those people who are not going to be making their living doing this at the highest level, but they want to be able to try to get as far as they can, I'd like to try to keep this as an open forum for that. So again, being able to, instead of just work with a couple, handful, 5, 10, whoever athletes, and being able to give them information and being able to push them through their journey and make their so-called dreams come true to be able to win a show, I'd like to be able to try to use this as a platform to be able to show you guys what to do, what not to do from my humble experiences that I've had. And I wanted to be able to show that my true love of bodybuilding. And it's not all about toxicity and people dying, knock on wood. Hopefully we're going to have no more deaths here, but it's just one of those things that I want to be able to do whatever I can to help out and be able to share my experience and my information. So again, make sure you comment below, like, subscribe, do all of those great things that help the algorithm so more people can share this. Do you want to finish up with anything, David? Anything else that you wanted to talk about before we go into our workout? Because we're going to actually go train.
Oh yeah.
No, that's it. I'm excited to get into competing. That's kind of a new thing that we were talking about there. So I'm ready to go do back day.
Awesome. Austin?
I think that's about it. I'm hyped. I'm going to be there too.
Awesome. All right. Well, that is the wrap up. Hany, Rambod, Austin, David Butler, and that's the truth.